can be really good in a game to have a checkpoint system. If you've got like a hard game where it's easy to die as you go further along, and then you go all the way back to the beginning when you die, that's really annoying. So let's do checkpoints. I'm going to put a checkpoint right here. So when big guy falls off the edge here, he comes back to here rather than going all the way back to the beginning. So the way we're going to do this, let's look at the event sheet first. We've already got something which sets the position of big guy back when he falls off, which is it sets it to this hard-coded position here. What we're going to do instead is have a spawn point, and we're going to move that spawn point along as big guy meets the checkpoint. So we're going to add a new object, and rather than going to the asset store, we're going to do a new object from scratch, and it's going to be a sprite. It's going to be invisible to the user though, so we're just going to call it spawn point, and drag spawn point into the game. I'm going to drag it roughly where he is right now, about there. And the user won't see this. This X just means that there's no animation there at the moment. So in the event sheet, I can now change this. Instead of saying spawn point, instead of saying 320, I can say spawn point dot X. Oops, I should have used the autocomplete because I had lowercase and it should be uppercase. And this one, same, spawn point dot Y. Done. So let's just check that works before we go any further. It should be identical to what we had before. Wait patiently while it fires everything up. Still waiting patiently. Wow, that bar's slow today. It's worth checking though. It's important to know that it actually works before we carry on. I sometimes see people making their games and they do quite a lot of work and then they haven't tested it, and then they test it and there's a whole bunch of things which are broken. So if I go and fall off over here now, yeah, it's reset me back to the position of spawn point. So checkpoints. So back into the scene, I'm going to add a new object and I want something which is going to be my checkpoint. I am going to use this candle as my checkpoint. Fairly arbitrary, but I think it'll do the job. So close, and did I add that into the scene? Yeah, there it is. Okay, and I'm going to put it about there-ish. I'm going to rename it as checkpoint. Always good to have well-named objects. And we're going to have an event, which is when big guy on collision with the checkpoint. Okay. We are going to move the spawn point, and we're going to change its position. So down in here, somewhere in here there's position. Did I see it? Position. That does X and Y at the same time. Set to, and the X position is going to be checkpoint dot X, and the Y position is going to be checkpoint dot Y. Okay, and we'll also then delete that checkpoint. So checkpoint delete. Okay, delete the object. Okay. So sitrep is that we now have our checkpoint in the game, and when we touch it, it will change the position of the spawn point. Is it going to take the same amount of time to load up here? Seems to be quite arbitrary sometimes. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's slow. Okay, so I'll go over here. Oop, yeah. Oh, if only I was good at this game. And jump. There's my checkpoint. So now, if I die, I should go back to where the checkpoint was. Yay, and that worked. And also, just to show you one thing that's happening. I'm going to put a second checkpoint into my game. I'm going to put another checkpoint, so control and drag to duplicate. I'm going to put a second checkpoint here, just to show you how some of this selection works. So when we do big guy is in collision with checkpoint and we talk about set to checkpoint.x checkpoint.y, it knows which checkpoint we're talking about here. It knows that we're talking about the actual checkpoint that we just collided with. So it won't just pick an arbitrary checkpoint and put it back there. It will actually put it into the correct position. So let's just check that. So firstly, I'm going to go over here, avoiding the whale, and die over here. So so that's my standard position. So now I go over here, that was my checkpoint, I die here, and it puts me into that position. Whoop, I got my power up, didn't I? And now I go over here, and I check that checkpoint, and it puts me back up to there. So all the checkpoints working exactly as